Hospital ports, pride and dignity, stop the New World Order. Welcome to HPANWO TV. Well, it's 10:30 in the morning and the Weird 11 conference has started, and here it is up on Mecca, music, entertainment, cultural arena. This is in Swindon. As you can see, this town looks much nicer in the daylight than it does in the night time. See that Illuminati pyramid up there? Yeah, this town or city? Sorry, city, town, I don't know, either one or the other. Anyway, the first speaker was Lucy Wyatt, and she's written a book called Approaching Chaos. She did a very interesting speech because it was about civilization collapsing. Now, I've covered things like this before when I talk about survivalism. It's starting to rain now. I'm just going to get out of the rain. It's called survivalism, where people talk about people want to move up into log cabins high in the mountains because, you know, the shit's about to hit the fan, as they say. And you know, there's a guy in America called Soren Renner who does these kind of speeches all the time about billions will die, we will win, stuff like that. You know, he's into racism and the white race and stuff like this. Now, this lady was saying that, you know, basically our view of history really comes from the Greeks and Romans. Now, I've spoken about this before. I mean, if you remember last week I was at Bath and I visited the Roman baths and I was talking about what they mean by, you know, what exactly all this means, the implications of that. Now, Lucy Wyatt doesn't actually say it, but I say that's because they were Illuminati, right? Now, she says, well, we don't know anything about the Egyptians. Really, the whole Egyptian concept of history, and including ancient, especially ancient history, pre-2nd millennium BC history, is cut off from us through the Greek and the Roman filter. Now, maybe that's because the Egyptians weren't originally Illuminati. The early Egyptian kingdoms were pre-Illuminati, as was Crete. You know, the Minoans culture and the early ancient Greek culture, and that civilization was pre-Illuminati. Now, Lucy Wyatt doesn't actually use that language, but I get the feeling she knows. So there's a bit of rainwater on there. She knows what I'm talking about. You know, she understands the concepts that I do in a different way, using the same thing, and using the same, using different language and different viewpoints. You know, this is what you often find with historical researchers. Now, she talks about the beginnings of farming. Now, technically, according to official history, we were hunter-gatherer people, rather like the Australian Aborigines or the Eskimos are today. But then, at the beginning of the Neolithic Age, after the end of the Ice Age, around 9000 BC, we started domesticating animals and crops. We started growing crops in fields rather than going out and hunting for them. And this led to the rise of what we call civilization today. But as she points out, sorry, it's raining here now. The rain must be working for the Illuminati because it's following me around. Let's try and find somewhere a little bit drier. There's got to be some shelter here somewhere. Central Library. That's where I am, in case you're curious. There's got to be a dry space where I can talk. I'm going round by the Central Library. And there's no shelter anywhere. Oh, there's some trees over here. I'll go underneath these trees. Like I was saying, let me just get into shelter first. This will do. You know, it was really sunny earlier on when we first got here. Right, now where was I? Yeah. It's getting windy now as well. Right, the first farms began in 9500 BC. Technically, these were creations of cultures like Çatalhöyük in Turkey, this Middle Eastern area that they call the Fertile Crescent, where farming first began. Now, the thing is, what this lady's saying, Lucy Wyatt's saying, is that farming didn't emerge as a technology that was invented or created. It actually arrived, in a sense, prefabricated. That's what she's saying. Farming began suddenly in a prefabricated form, like as if somebody who already knew it came here and told us. And of course, a lot of the cultures, such as the Mayans, the Egyptians and others, have myths about exactly that. They talk about gods from the sky coming down and educating mankind in these skills. See, the first cities, the first cities didn't grow up, were not farming communities. The first cities grew up around temples, like Uruk. These are the first cities recognised by history anyway. Like Uruk in Mesopotamia, modern day Iraq. So, and then the farms came afterwards. Now, there's also, you know, this seems to be that this history's been cut off from us by what I would call the Illuminati created or occupied powers, what she called the Greco-Roman tradition. For instance, the Egyptian civilization ended with the destruction of the Alexandria Library, and there's a lot to talk about that, about the knowledge that was in that library. I mean, Carl Sagan compares it to losing all of Shakespeare's plays except Romeo and Juliet. Supposing we only had Romeo and Juliet and all the others had been burnt, how on earth could we get a proper image of Shakespeare from just that one play? But that's what it's like looking at history with the destruction of the Alexandria Library. I mean, I can only hope that, you know, somewhere the records of what was in that library are kept maybe in the Vatican Library. One day we'll break in there, you know, in the vaults of the Vatican and get them out and we'll learn these things. Right, the next speaker is Nick Pope. So I'm going to go in and say hello to old Popey. See you later.